Tonight on Reel to Reel, we have the story of a Fort Washington family that found love and courage in the face of tragedy.
And we'll travel north to see the inspiring work of Canadian artist Frederick Franck.
Rosemary Bruno will be along with In the Know.
Father John Scarcia joins us on the lighter side.
And we'll meet rising young stage star Krissy Frailich. Hello, I'm Isabel Garvey-LaGrosse.
And I'm Father Dave McAllen. Welcome to Reel to Reel.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. Most of us spend our lives trying to develop the talent and potential that is within us, but we tend to narrow our sights onto one particular profession or field. And then there's the Renaissance man, he who develops all of his potential to the maximum.
We have an example of such an extraordinary man tonight in Frederick Franck, physician, musician, painter, sculptor, and philosopher.
Modern people are somehow persuaded that they can't do anything. I play the piano, but I don't play as well as Van Cliburn. Modern people think that since they can't splatter as well as Jackson Pollock and they can't play as well as Van Cliburn, that they can't do anything. I can do something.
Artist, writer, physician. Frederick Franck has indeed found that he can do something. In fact, he has accomplished a great deal in his 75 years. His artwork has appeared in museums throughout the world and in numerous one-man shows. He has written 24 books on subjects ranging from art to Zen. He traveled to Rome to draw his impressions of Vatican II, the only artist to be present there. He built a peace chapel from the ruins of an old watermill, and he spent 3 years in Africa working with Albert Schweitzer. Franck was born in Holland and educated in Belgium, Scotland, and the United States. He has always been keenly interested in art and writing, but his family influenced him to seek a career in medicine. He did, establishing successful medical practices in London and then New York. When a friend told Franck that Albert Schweitzer needed someone to set up an oral surgery clinic in Africa, Franck saw an opportunity to combine his medicine and art.
I'd like to see Africa. I want to draw Africa. That's quite a challenge. And then let me see what motivates not only this Mr. Schweitzer, but also the people who work with him. So I became very interested. And I went there and I set up the clinic. I got to know Schweitzer very well and respected him very, very deeply. What impressed me enormously about him was his total commitment to whatever he was doing. I thought, what was this man? And I came to the conclusion that he was a great pioneer. He was a pioneer in giving foreign aid. But he gave foreign aid without any political strings attached. He was a pioneer in missionary work. He did not convert people. He was a Christian presence. He was a pioneer in ecumenism. I remember him saying, "Dogma divides, the spirit unites." And finally, at age 86, he was a pioneer in his protest against atom bomb testing. I would say he was a person who fulfilled every one of his potentialities to the very maximum.
Franck continued to develop his potentials. He received a Doctor of Fine Arts degree and taught college for a while. He continued his painting, drawing, and writing. A book about Europe was in the works, but had to be set aside, for one day in 1962, a newspaper article about Vatican II was to change the course of Franck's life.
I was on my way to my publisher to discuss my next book. And I bought the Times, And in the Times, I started to read while walking the first speech of Pope John to the council which opened that day. I think it was October 11th. It was a very critical moment in history. It was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And here was this old man in Rome who spoke of dawn. He said, it is only dawn. And gently chided those people in the church who wanted to block all modernization. And that speech moved me so deeply. I had not taken that much interest in this Pope John up to that moment, that I turned around on my heels. I called the publisher and said, I can't make it today, I'll come tomorrow. Went home and said to my wife, I must go to Rome, even if it means bankruptcy. I want to see what's going to happen there. I want to draw it. My response is to draw. But there's a strange thing about drawing, and that is that you become what you draw. You identify with what you draw. I was myself deeply moved by the spirit of renewal, of freedom, and especially of confidence in the human, which was exemplified to me by Pope John.
A book was made of Franck's drawings, and in time it came to the attention of Pope John, who showed his appreciation.
On June 3rd, 1963, the day of his death, I received the medal of his pontificate, which moved me so enormously, because I saw this man as much more than a pope. He was the prophet of human solidarity. And it moved me so deeply that that same evening I flew to Rome and drew him for a last time on his bier.
Franck's esteem of Pope John gave him the vision to complete a project started years earlier. In the woods near his home, Franck and his wife had discovered the ruins of an 18th century water mill. At first, Franck thought he would restore part of the mill and erect a statue beneath its archway. But after the death of Pope John, Franck saw that he must build a peace chapel in honor of the Pope. He named his chapel Pacem in Terris.
I wanted it to be a work of art where I could say in any medium I could handle what I really thought important in life. And I wanted it to be a place of reflection, prayer, meditation, outside of all religious games. I wanted it to be trans-religious, this place, for anyone of any denomination or none. Why? Because I believe that more important than all religious institutions is that which makes people truly human. And that what is truly human is a religious attitude towards life itself, towards existence as the great gift. Now, in the facade, I put the dedication, which is, I built Pacem in Terris, an oasis of inwardness, in honor of Angelo Roncalli, John 23rd, prophet of human solidarity. Following him, I built on ancient foundations, anchored in rock, vivified by living water, may the Spirit soar and make us creatures see our unity. That's the whole credo it's built on.
The chapel and its grounds are filled with artworks, all done by Franck himself. Every detail is symbolic, but its interpretation is left to the beholder. Pacem in Terris has been in the process of creation for over 20 years. But this oasis of inwardness, this artistic act of faith, will never be complete.
And I saw what I was going to make of it. It was going to be a sign of hope, as Pope John had been a sign of hope. A tiny one, but still mine, my own.
I'm sure it'd be a wonderful experience to be able to visit Dr. Frank's Peace Chapel. But right now we're going to take a break, so don't go away. At age 75, Frederick Franck is clearly an accomplished man. That makes me realize that I've got to get my nose back to the grindstone.
Well, you better get cracking, Father, because in our next segment we're going to meet an incredibly talented 12-year-old singer-actress Krissy Frailich from Primos, Pennsylvania.
You didn't tell me how old you are, Louisa.
I'm Brigitte. She's Louisa. She's 13 years old, and you're smart. I'm 9, and I think your dress is the ugliest one I ever saw. Brigitte, you mustn't say...
These lines are spoken with all the assurance of a seasoned professional, but actually, Krissy Frailich has only been performing professionally for 2 years, and although she wasn't born acting, she was born to act.
Krissy's been involved in theater for the past 2 years in actual dinner theater, but she's performed since she was 5 years old, starting with different area local groups, and she sang in church. You Light Up My Life was her first song. She sang in church at St. Eugene's. And but actual theater work has been the last 2 years.
Krissy is a delightful young lady. She's a energy plus on stage and off the stage. She's extremely generous with her talents. She has been a spark of life to everyone in St. Eugene's School as well as the parish. So we're quite proud of her as being a student of St. Eugene's.
Like any pro, Krissy always gives it her all, whether she's on the stage or in the classroom.
I get home usually around 2:45, and I have to come right in, do my homework. I have about 2 hours to do my homework, and if I don't get it done then, I'll never get it done because when I'm in the shows, I'm not going to bring my books out there because I don't have any time.
I don't think that her time really causes any difficulty in school. I think, if anything, it helps her to plan and to take the proper priorities. Her involvement in the theater really has matured her so that she's able to really handle her subjects in school quite well.
Krissy, being as involved as she is in performing, has made her a better person. She has met enormous amount of people that she would have never met otherwise. All different ages, all different types of people in music, dance, theater, and it has broadened her horizon, so to speak. Well, I don't think this would have happened otherwise.
Recently, Krissy appeared in The Wizard of Oz at the Valley Forge Music Fair, and she shared the thrill of that experience with us.
I liked it a lot. I felt really good inside because Valley Forge Music Fair has a big name. And, you know, it was my first time working on the round, and that was exciting. I didn't like it too much, though, but it was exciting.
Krissy's latest production is The Sound of Music at the Three Little Bakers Dinner Theater.
I like the role of Brigitte because it's a really inspiring role, because you tell Maria that the captain's in love with her and she's in love with him. And I feel, because my name is mentioned through the show, like Brigitte tells me things I don't want to know, and I feel good about that, you know, it feels good.
Because he's in love with you. Oh, but Brigitte, that's just as
You must know that.
In the life of an actress, there will be many stages and countless audiences. For Krissy, St. Eugene's Church is a special stage, and the Blessed Mother a special member of the audience.
I felt that Mary was with me all the way, telling me to keep going and stuff, and I felt really good. I felt like I had her with me, and she was guiding me.
Anyone who fled to
If you would like a chance to see Krissy on stage, she'll be appearing in The Sound of Music at the Three Little Bakers Dinner Theater in Wilmington, Delaware, until March the 4th. Really is a good show.
Well, from what we've seen of Krissy, it must be. Right now, we're going to join Father John Scarcia on the lighter side.
Hi, I'm Father John Scarcia on the lighter side. I have in my hands a liturgical vessel called a thurible, or a censer. It is used to contain burning incense at certain masses, at benediction, and at other services. The use of incense is to designate a mark of respect, and it was introduced into the liturgies of the Roman Rite between the 8th and the 11th centuries. We know that incense was used by the Israelites in the Old Testament and by other religions as well. Special charcoal is placed in this vessel, lit, and then the incense is sprinkled over the charcoal. When it is used, the incense produces a lot of smoke. And since the server is usually the one who carries the thurible, if he holds it a little too close to his body, he will start to turn green after a few minutes. The first time I remember incense being used at Mass, I thought the church was burning down. I was rather young at the time, and I saw all this smoke coming out of the back of the church. Fortunately, my parents tackled me by the time I got to the end of the pew. But used in its proper place and in moderation, incense can be a beautiful sign of prayer and of reverence.
Coming up next is the story of a family who combated tragedy and illness with love. So stay with us.
One of the most tragic sights in my mind is that of a parent at the hospital bedside of a seriously ill child. The critical illness of a child can create for some wounds that never heal, but others, relying on faith and supported by their loved ones, find in these hard situations courage, renewed faith, and even the strength to reach out to others.
In our next story, we'll meet a family who embodies the values of faith, family support, and help for others in the face of childhood illness. The Dolans of Fort Washington, Pennsylvania. Childhood, a time of magic carousels, music, and laughter. For 7-year-old Kimmy Dolan, it has also been a time for great courage as she and her family battled leukemia. For Kim's family, it was a struggle that had begun before she was even born, for by the time Kimmy was diagnosed, the Dolans had already lost their daughter Kelly to leukemia.
Kelly Ann was diagnosed with leukemia actually in July of 1976, but she took sick in March of 72 and appeared as though she had aplastic anemia for most of the period of her illness before she actually died in October of 1976. Kimmy was born almost a year to the day that Kelly Ann had died, and she was like, she filled our lives again with life. I mean, we didn't realize how low we had gotten until Kimmy came. And it was almost disbelief that this could happen again on everybody's part, not just our part. You know, the doctors and nurses that had taken care of us before found it hard to believe, as well as our family and friends. And when I came to praying, I was really afraid that I was losing my faith because I didn't know what to pray for. I didn't know whether to pray for a miracle. I had already prayed for a miracle with Kelly, and I didn't get it. Didn't know whether to pray that we could handle it as well as we had handled Kelly's illness. So all I could come out with was help. Our faith was really the only thing that kept us together. That was the only thing that mattered.
The Dolans found strength not only in their faith, but in the love and support of friends like pediatrician Frederick, who treated both Kelly and Kimmy. And as the doctor told us, Kimmy's own spirit and her family's love were her greatest assets.
She certainly has the ability to bounce back time and time again. She's been a joy to work with. Family supports are absolutely the most important thing. The Dolans have been a fantastic family and have been a real strength for Kimmy.
Starting in May of 1982, Kim underwent 4 grueling months of treatment at Swedish Hospital in Seattle, where she received a bone marrow transplant from her father, Joe. During this time, Peggy Dolan kept a journal for family and friends.
Mainly because our chances were so slim in pulling Kimmy through this, that I wanted a final record of everything she did, everything she reacted to, for our own keepsake.
We asked Peggy to share some excerpts of her journal with us.
There's so much to tell. This has not been a bad experience. We've gained much through it all. I wish I could share with you all the love, friendship, faith, and support we've received from so many people at home and here. We came out here with 1 patient, Kim. Now we've got at least 20 more, because once here you can't help but get involved with the other families in the unit. We're all in this together, only our homes are scattered across the states. We're far from being over the hump, but don't worry, we're holding on tight. We've been away from home so long, it seems as though we've sold our house and moved. We have at least another 40 days to go. However, if Noah could keep afloat that long with his gang, no reason why we can't. We'll just wait for the dove to lead us home.
This is Kelly Dolan. Her story ended differently than Kim's. But in an action that is typical of their indomitable spirit, the Dolans established a memorial fund to aid financially stricken families of seriously ill children.
After spending as much time in the hospital that we spent, we realized that there were a lot of families that were struggling not only with the terminal illness or the critical illness of their children, but they were also struggling financially to help make ends meet at home. The fund operates basically with social workers in Children's Hospital or St. Christopher's Hospital. They know about the fund, and when a case would come up that they feel we could fit into, they'll give us a call. And if it does actually fit into our requirements, why they send us, say, an electric bill or a telephone bill, and we'll handle it directly.
14-year-old Krissy Dolan has needed her own special brand of courage as she's coped with a family who, until recently, had to give most of their attention to Krissy's seriously ill sisters.
They knew Kelly was going to die, so that they figured that they better give her everything that she would get in a lifetime. So they really couldn't give me the same amount because they had to spend too much time with Kelly. We fight a lot, because we fight over everything sometimes. But, I love her and she loves me.
To Krissy, Kimmy is no medical marvel, but just her sister. And to her teachers and classmates at Ambler Catholic Elementary School, Kimmy is just another member of the 2nd grade.
And now she's in 2nd grade. She's looking forward to making her first Holy Communion in May. And she does everything a little 7-year-old would do. She's involved with dancing. She's taken ballet classes and Irish dancing, and she's in the choir. And she really gets a big kick out of life, needless to say. She's our miracle baby.
If you'd like more information on the Kellyanne Dolan Fund, contact us here at Reel to Reel.
Or if you'd like to make a donation, contact Peggy Dolan at Post Office Box 122, Penlyn, Pennsylvania, 19422.
Right now, to keep us in the know on Catholic news, here's Rosemary Bruno.
Thank you, Father, and good evening. The Archdiocese of Philadelphia has collected more money for famine relief in Ethiopia than any other diocese in the country. This according to John Cardinal Kroll at a news conference in which he announced funds collected had reached the $1 million mark. The money collected over a month and a half is not to buy food, but rather to transport food to the people. Cardinal Kroll said this was an invitation, not a command, and I can't tell you how delighted I am that not only the Catholic community, but the total community has given to this. A check for $400,000 was handed to a representative of the Catholic National Relief Services at the press conference. $600,000 had been presented earlier this month. During the news conference, several contributing groups were mentioned, among them the students of Cardinal O'Hara High School in Delaware County, who collected $3,100 in just one day. In another recent statement, Cardinal Kroll appointed the chairman of the 1985 Catholic Charities Appeal. For the third consecutive year, Philadelphia Auxiliary Bishop Louis A. DeSimone will serve as general chairman. The cardinal expressed his appreciation and gratitude to the bishop for the fine leadership he has provided in previous years. Bishop DeSimone served as director of the Philadelphia's Catholic Relief Services from 1971 to 1982 and was coordinator of the Italian Earthquake Relief Fund. Currently, he is pastor of St. Monica Church in South Philadelphia. In other news, the U.S. Catholic Conference in Washington, D.C. warned American priests of a possible adverse effect on their health due to diminishing numbers of priests in active ministry. The comments came as a result of an in-depth study entitled The Health of American Catholic Priests. Potential health problems resulting from an increased workload were highlighted throughout the report. The committee recommended priests take responsibility for their own health to help prevent disease. And finally, the U.S. Postal Service has announced that Father Edward J. Flanagan, legendary founder of Boys Town, will be featured on a Great American Series stamp. Father Flanagan emigrated to this country from Ireland at the age of 18. After opening a hotel for derelict men, he decided that rehabilitation must begin at a younger age. He then started a protectory for troubled boys and later purchased land near Omaha, Nebraska, where he founded the present Boys Town in 1922. The special honor falls on the 100th anniversary of Father Flanagan's birthday. For In the Know, I'm Rosemary Bruno. Do have a good evening.
Tonight we've seen the stories of three individuals who have made the most of their life situations.
Whether it's in developing their artistic talents or in triumphing over adversity.
Maybe there's someone you know whose story needs to be told. If so, contact us here. Write us here at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103.
Reel to Reel won't be on next week, but join us in 2 weeks when we'll take a look at the rising number of blacks turning to Catholicism around the country
and in our own area. In our studio, we'll have a discussion with Father Rayford Emmons and Sister Pat Healy.
Thanks for being with us. Good night.
Good night, and remember, Jesus is Lord.